everyone, it's Christina CraftyPaws. I'm coming on here to share with you guys how I made this Valentine's wreath. This is actually a design team project for Diemond dies. I used this awesome, super versatile heart nesting die set from Diemond dies. And by the way, Diemond dies is having a Valentine's sale now through February 21st, 2017. And if you use the coupon code HEART20 and your order is $20 or more, you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. So definitely go check them out. I made this wreath basically using just that die set. I did, of course, color up a couple of Greeting Farm images. I picked these up recently on eBay. This is Sunday, and I colored him up to look like my hubby. And this is Crystal, and I colored her up to look like me. And I think they came out really cute. I did a little bit of paper piecing, all from this paper pad, which is the Doodlebug Designs Lovebirds paper pad. And I used several of them to die cut out a whole bunch of hearts, layered them up. Well, you'll see, because I'm going to be attaching a process video sharing with you guys all the steps for how to make this adorable wreath. So I've die cut out 20 hearts with this Diemond Dies nesting die set. I haven't used the largest two, but I used all of the others. And I used everything from this Doodlebug's paper pad. And you'll see that little cluster of hearts. I inked all the edges with this Tim Holtz Distress ink in Picked Raspberry. And you see the other three clusters of hearts, I did not ink the edges yet. And I wanted to show you that comparison. It's a matter of taste, of course, but I actually like the look of having all of my die cut pieces have like that inked edge. I think it makes it look a little bit more finished, and for mixing up a lot of patterns like I'm doing here, it I think really helps separate the different layers of hearts. Just having that tiny bit of more solid color along the edges. Now, even this pink heart, essentially, which I think some people would say, oh, you don't need to ink the edges of that one. I think it really does help. Just kind of gives a little bit more of that 3D look and finishes off the edges, like I said. So I'm going to be layering all of these hearts, and I'm actually going to be layering them with fun foam between each layer to give extra dimension. So these heart dies cut through fun foam like butter. It's so easy. I'm laying out the dies for the hearts that are slightly smaller than each paper heart that I'm going to put each fun foam piece behind, and that will make sure that the edges of the fun foam don't show beyond the edge of the paper hearts that they're going to be supporting. I'm just running this through my Big Shot, and as you can see, these foam hearts pop out super easily. So you just saw me die cut 4 hearts out, and this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. So this smallest heart, it's actually the smallest heart in the die set. So if I put that over this, it could show the little edges of that heart. So instead, I'm just going to snip off a little bit of the excess here. And just with that little piece, I'm going to stick that on the back of this heart and then pop that on the next layer, and so on and so forth. I'm using Aleene's Original Tacky Glue. It's a really inexpensive glue, but it dries super solid. And I'm just layering each piece of fun foam behind each larger paper heart, including the biggest one, so the whole ensemble is really dimensional. And voila! Look at all of that dimension. Super fast and easy. So to create a wreath form, I'm just taking some leftover cardboard. This was from a box of chocolate covered pecans. I'm going to take a Sharpie marker and a little bit of twine, and I'm going to tie this around the bottom part here. And I'm going to tape it down too so it doesn't shift on me. And this is just a temporary little tie to create essentially like a compass, but I wanted something that was going to be big enough to make the wreath form the size that I wanted. So there it is. It's all tied down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try and pick kind of the middle point of the piece of cardboard, and then I'm going to draw a circle. I I think I can make it a little bit bigger. Obviously, it doesn't have to be perfect, and all of this is going to be covered up. I just want to get a basic circle shape. There. And now I can just cut around here. And then I want this to be relatively thin. So I'm going to just take a X-Acto blade here. And I'm basically just scoring inside the outside edge of that circle with that X-Acto blade. I'm not worried about going all the way through the cardboard or anything because I know I'm going to be taking these scissors, these more hardy scissors, and going around and cutting out that inner circle. It doesn't have to be perfect or look pretty because it's going to get covered. So there, I've got my ring cut out, and I'm going to just tie some yarn around it because I'm going to cover it up just by wrapping it with yarn. That way, if somebody happens to look at it from the side or from the back, it'll still look pretty. I'm just going to tie a knot, and I'll cut off the excess tail. And I'm also going to tape it down so that the knot doesn't swing around to the front of the wreath. Now I'm just going to loop that big spool of yarn over and over around the whole wreath form. So I've completed the wreath form, wrapping it completely with white yarn. It was a little time consuming, but I think that it covers up some of the bumps and, the imperfections of the wreath form itself. And I think it makes the background look prettier. These large and small layered hearts, which I think came out really cute. I'm going to have just enough to go around this entire wreath by having 4 of the larger and 4 of the smaller. But I thought it would be nice to add some little decorative trim to this. So recently I picked up the Simplicity trim from Joann's. It was $2.99 for 2 yards, and I used a 60% off coupon, less than $1.50. And it's this really cute pom-pom trim. So I've got my glue gun heated up, and I'm going to add a little trim behind all of the hearts. So I'm just going to get started there with a little dab of hot glue, and I'm going to do a bead of hot glue on the base of that pom-pom trim, and then I'm going to just tuck it quickly behind the heart. And I'm just doing about an inch or 2 at a time because I don't want the hot glue to harden up too quickly. And I really like how that little addition of the pom-pom trim adds a touch of whimsy, I think. Now, I'm not going to have you watch me put pom-poms around each and every heart, so I'll just show you this first one completed. I'm going to take my sewing scissors and just snip off enough so that the trim wraps perfectly around to complete this heart. Okay, I put the little pom-poms around all of the hearts, and then I was short. I was short on the trim. Oh my gosh. So let me let you in on a little secret. What I did was I removed the areas around the small hearts that I knew would not be visible after I assembled the whole wreath together like that. And I seamed together the last pom-poms around this last small heart. So I have to be very careful about how I assemble this all together so that the large hearts overlap the small hearts where those little areas are missing the little pom-pom trim. So I'm going to just lay down some hot glue, put this down, and I'm going to make sure that this overlaps, the large heart overlaps those little smaller hearts. And just a little tip here, putting the hot glue on the wreath form itself actually saves you from getting globs of glue on the backs of the hearts that may not actually be part of the heart that attaches to the wreath. And I'm just going around making sure that I'm removing each heart and then putting it right back in the same place because I have these all positioned to fit just perfectly around this wreath. And that's my completed wreath. So I've tied some seam binding. I had some medium pink and some pale pink seam binding. And so I tied it, so if you look at the front here, right at this point on either side, and I tied it onto the back, and I'm just going to hot glue this into place. And this will ensure that the hanger stays in place and that the seam binding is visible above the wreath. And then up at the top, just for some extra fun, I did a triple bow here with some pink pale pink and white seam binding. And I think that just adds a nice little ruffle top. And that's how it will be hung. Now, as I mentioned before, I Copic colored and paper pieced this little crystal and sundae from the greeting farm to look like me and my hubby. And if you're interested in the particular Copic colors that I use, please check out my blog post, which I will link to in the description box below. And just know that it was just detailed Copic coloring and fussy cutting, and I glued them into place with wet glue and a little bit of hot glue along the edges, just because the images barely overlapped the pom-pommed areas of the hearts and the sides, and I wanted to make sure that they were all secure. I hope you enjoyed this process video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching.